And now for our holiday wellness break. Now, 'tis the season which tests our taste buds, tummies, and tolerance. I can already feel the temptation of the holidays and the tax it can sometimes have on our health. This year, we're approaching the holidays with balance and a health first mindset that allows us to both indulge and excel. And that starts with you. That's the ElleExcel me pillar. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, the holiday will just not be as merry. And that's no Christmas miracle. So, Jillian, give us something good to chew on as we head into the holidays.
Thanks, Lori. So I have two ideas off the top. The first is prepare to enjoy and really create the space in your mind that allows you to do that. And then at the same time, realize that this is a season of celebration and food is very much a part of it. So determine what good food looks like for you up front. Ask yourself, what will I indulge in, when, and how much? And what this does, this alleviates the stress of being in the moment and being tempted or feeling guilt over overindulging. And if you let yourself do this, you can enjoy it with the recognition that you planned and provisioned for it.
I like it. Planned indulgence and mindful eating, it sounds like.
Exactly. So the second, simply drink more water. I know this is a common refrain, but it's even more important in a season where we're eating more sugar and more salt than usual. What water is going to do, it's going to give us the focus and the energy that we need throughout the day and into the evening. And not only that, nearly 80% of headaches stem from dehydration. So staying hydrated is going to help us manage that low-grade stress that's persistent throughout the holidays.
And awareness is really at the core of most things, isn't it? And there's no downside to being present and mindful in every action we take, including eating. And many years ago, I actually took a mindfulness course. And through that, we did practice mindful eating. I was eating an apple, if I recall, and it changed actually the way that I eat up until today. So, talk to us a little bit, if you could, Jillian, about mindfulness and in combination with nutrition, so sort of mindful nutrition, and why that really matters during the holiday season.
Well, it's interesting. Often we give ourselves a free pass to overeat during any sort of holiday or event. And yet we all know the repercussions, digestive issues, poor sleeps, stress, the dreaded weight gain. But we also know that resistance is not the answer. Because when we abstain completely, it's like a nagging kid with their hand up in a classroom. At some point, they are going to bust out. And cravings are kind of like that. Studies show us time and time again that if we deprive ourselves, willpower can only take us so far, and that eventually we fall off the wagon. And then in this case, that means we go headfirst into either overeating or binging. The answer is to be mindful. Resist eating on autopilot and eating too fast. Rather, we want to mindfully indulge.
It sounds good, but it also sounds like a rather obscure thought, this idea of mindful eating. And it's hard to get our minds around what it actually looks like and what it means and the actions that we take in order to do it. So, what
Yeah.
thoughts do we need to be aware of?
Well, it's probably best understood by explaining what it isn't. So, mindless eating, that would be wolfing down our food without being aware of what we've just eaten or what it tasted like. And that might look like passively grabbing a cookie or two, talking and eating at the same time, reaching for whatever is on a tray as it's being passed before you at a cocktail party, or even sitting with a bowl of chips in your lap. Mindful eating, on the other hand, that would be savoring each bite, really tasting it and thoroughly enjoying it, or taking your time before choosing to eat something and then really experiencing it while you chew. And finally, taking the time afterwards to gauge how you feel. Another example of mindful eating would be checking in before saying yes to a second helping or reaching for another hors d'oeuvre. Always ask yourself the question, am I really hungry here, or am I eating for the sake of eating, just eating out of habit? What we want to do is tune in and listen to our body, because the more mindful we are, the more control we have over our eating habits.
Yeah, I like it. And there's this thread running through our conversation, and it seems to me to be about pace and this slow, deliberate approach to how and when we eat. And given what we've learned prior on this program around blood sugar and ensuring that we maintain it in a healthy range overall. It's something to be aware of, I think, as we head into the holidays. I often hear people say stuff like they're saving room for the big dinner, myself included, or they're starving themselves for the day in order to make room for the turkey and all the fixings. Is this a good idea?
My advice would be don't skip meals in order to save space for an event. Eating well balanced meals during the day can actually prevent us from overeating during the evening. And then it's also a good idea to eat a healthy protein before going out. So what this does, it avoids a blood sugar crash, and it actually keeps us fuller longer. So that could be a hard-boiled egg or some cut vegetables and hummus or a piece of leftover chicken, just something to take the edge off. But having said that, there are times that we're going to be out and we are ravenous. So in this case, it's best to either head directly to the vegetable platter if they have one, or drink a large glass of water before anything else.
Yeah, I like it. And there's these built-in tips, I think, for moderation is what you're suggesting. And I think maybe in a way it gives our brain time to catch up with our stomachs. And now I don't drink alcohol very often, if at all, but I've heard that water consumption can decrease one's appetite for alcohol as well, which we know is sort of abundant during the holiday season. Yeah.
Having a glass of water before having our first drink is a really good idea. What it does, it actually dulls our cravings.
Hmm.
Or we could chew on a mint or a piece of gum before we arrive. Even brushing our teeth just before going out can really help. And then another strategy that we all know is bridging with water between drinks. And what this does, it gives our body the pause that it needs to be mindful. And it takes us out of autopilot, that whole idea and habit of having a drink in our hand and sipping on it constantly while socializing. So when we start this way with a glass of water or something similar, the foundation of a good habit is formed or starts to be formed.
Yeah, and speaking of good habits, what about exercise? There always seems to be this premium on our time during the holidays. How do we fit it in?
The key thing here is getting away from the whole mindset that if we don't have our full hour or 30 minutes to exercise, that it's not worth it. Exercise is not an all or nothing activity. So even if we have 5, 10, 15 minutes, it's important to just do something. What movement is going to do, it's going to reset our mental focus, it's going to aid with digestion, as well as just help give us that fuel to navigate the holiday season. So things like standing at your desk versus sitting, walking up the stairs instead of taking an elevator, doing 5 squats between each of your meetings, go for a brisk walk, even do 25 sit-ups just before bedtime. Just keep moving during the holidays.
I'm going to create a buzz by doing these squats before meetings. But let me change gears a wee bit and talk a little bit about a fundamental, which is around sleep, which is elusive, obviously, to so many of us. But it's tough to get a good night's sleep in the best of times, let alone trying to do it when our schedules are thrown off or we're prone to a bit of overindulgence through the holidays in food or in alcohol, both sort of known detractors of sleep. So, tips for good holiday rest.
Well, often at this time of year, we don't have control over the things like a consistent sleep schedule or leaving enough time between eating and going to bed in the evening. So what we want to do is focus on the things that we do have control over. Things like how much we eat, making sure we sleep in a dark room or create darkness with eye shades, reducing and eliminating blue screens and devices before bed, ensuring our room is cool, getting exercise during the day, and then trying our best as we can, trying the best we can to stick to a sleep schedule. These are things that we all know already. They're critical for sleep, but for some reason, many people still aren't paying attention to them, and they're often hampered during the holiday season.
Yeah, I see that. And it's this no negative cycle because poor sleep, of course, leads to subsequent overindulgence in food and drink, and it sets our day off in a bad path, right? That bad cycle. Because when you couple it with holiday temptations, it's tough, right, to jump off this, wheel. And so, what about the things, if you go bump in the night and you happen to awaken, let's say, while digesting all that turkey, what do you do then?
Use your breath. It is the fastest way for the body to recalibrate and calm. And the 478 breathing technique, which I've talked about before, is really a go-to for me because it's fast, it's easy to do, and it's effective. So you inhale through your nose for a count of 4, and then you hold for a count of 7, just count to 7 slowly, and then you exhale through pursed lips for a count of 8. And what you want to do is you want to repeat that 4 times back to back. It takes a little bit of time to be effective, but it definitely works.
It's a great device and something you can do anywhere at any time in order to level out. And it really works. And before you know it, your stress levels are down and you're dreaming of, dancing sugar plums in your head. And it's really adjusting that cortisol levels. And speaking of cortisol, that stress hormone, the holidays are chock full of stressors. They're joyful moments, but stressors as well. And so much of this, I think, is on the shoulders of women, whether it's organizing, whether it's coordinating gifts, juggling schedules, all of it. And it's not to dismiss anything that the gentlemen in our lives do, but it is a lot of stuff on our shoulders. And so how do we handle that stress of the holiday season, however it manifests?
One of the best things that we can do is to feed our brains with the right food. Food plays such a key role when it comes to our mental health, and we all know the drill. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, healthy proteins, healthy fats. The nutrients in these foods, or many of these foods, have really powerful anti-anxiety effects. And not only that, they are a big boost for our immune system, which is super important at this time of year. And then, as mentioned earlier, we need to stay hydrated. Our brain dehydrates very easily, and this can lead to fatigue, it can lead to moodiness. And then one final thing, try to take a time out during the day. All we need is 5 minutes to sit, relax, and breathe. And what we're doing here is we're engaging our parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest system, in order to bring down our cortisol levels. And at the same time, what those 5-minute breaks do, they give us that boost in energy that we need to embrace the rest of the day.
Yeah, such good advice. And one final thing I wanted to touch on is with all the socializing, it's so much easier to pass illness from person to person. So how do we best protect ourselves in the holiday season from catching one of the many bugs and viruses that seem to be proliferating during the holiday season?
The basics, getting enough sleep, exercise, staying hydrated, managing stress, all these things are going to help. And then with respect to food, just prioritize those foods that protect our immune system. It's absolutely okay to indulge, but try to make sure it's not at the expense of the good stuff. And then finally, I would add washing our hands a lot. And if you do want to take some supplements, try boosting your vitamin C, your vitamin D, and your zinc alongside a good quality multivitamin.
I like it. I feel fit for the season and ready to mindfully indulge. So tying it all together and leaning on two of our core ElleExcel pillars of me and well. So for me, it's all about prioritizing yourself and your energy through mindfulness. This idea of an energy bank. So think of your energy like a bank account. Many bankers on the line. Spend it on what lights you up and don't overdraft on things that drain you, to borrow the metaphor. A simple "I'm keeping it light this year" can save you from burnout and focus on what really matters. Now, mindful eating, we've talked about that, but it's about slowing down and savoring what you put in your mouth. It helps us connect with our food and avoid overindulgence for sure. Snacks, not starvation. Another thought, skipping meals backfires as it leads to overeating and discomfort. So instead, eat light snacks earlier in the day, like nuts, fruit, yogurt, to keep your energy steady so that you can endure the holiday meal. Breathe through the chaos. We've heard a lot about that today, and it's one of the simplest ways to stay calm. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, inhale for 6. Visualizing something calming, like sipping cocoa by a fireplace, and it'll instantly reset you. Now, our wellness pillar is all about nourishing your body and mind, and we really want to do that through the holiday season. So you might want to move to the beat. Micro movements are your holiday hack. Dance to holiday music, take a walk in the lights, or stretch while you're making cookies and baking. It's all about keeping it light and fun and staying moving. Now, hydration we've spoken about today, but make it festive. Staying hydrated means balancing your appetite and reducing that urge to overindulge in alcohol. Try a festive mocktail, sparkling water with cranberry juice and rosemary. It's holiday hydration with a bit of a twist. Now, sleep like a snowflake. It's your holiday superpower. It boosts your immune system, helps you manage stress, and keeps you energized ongoing, creating this sort of calm bedtime routine, dimming the lights, putting your phone away, relaxing with a book or music. It's beginning to look a lot like a healthy holiday.